when I talk about these things, people are confused about the word access. Did I ever tell you this? Yeah, you're like, what do you mean? You know, why not use resistance and entropy and some other words like that? And I say, well, two reasons. I know those words and they're boring and confusing, but access is something that everybody knows. Really? They say, really? Yeah, I say, if you don't know, imagine how it feels if you don't have access. Yeah. Yeah, that was the way I wrote these things for the first time. And then my first, so that was in never mind. I published first in 1996. But I may have told you, I came up with this aha in 1995 on my birthday, as it turned out. And even though I was not on Monte Verità at the time. And I said, no, I'm not going to use the words of everyday science. I'll use words from the street, such as access. Yes. Why did I tell you this? Well, whatever. Look, this is the moment we turn the page, at least temporarily, and start discussing essentially the same ideas, but from chapter 10 this time. They have to do with the fact that we've looked at things that move, things that flow. Even the water through the pipe is only half of the drawing. The pipe wall is the other half. And the pipe must exist, first of all, meaning not break under its own weight. All the pipes, all everywhere, they're actually beams supporting the ceiling. You don't see them in today's constructions. They're camouflaged by this perforated, flimsy wall. This one doesn't hold anything. The real holders are above it in a crawl space. All right, so the drawing, speaking of contrast, the drawing has the flow, which is, when you make a drawing, it's colorless, and then the solid, which is drawn as a line. And so the flow system, meaning on the page, has structure. And the structure is, in most cases, solid. It is affected by the flow. You're talking about friction. Obviously, the friction is against the surface of the duct. But on Earth, the structure has weight. And if not beefy enough, it will break. Simple as that. So what you see everywhere, from your work table to your chair and everything else that makes you so knowledgeable, impresses you with a design, meaning with a drawing that has purpose and has performance. So the concepts of purpose and performance all the way to merit and value with which we are familiar as designers in engineering. These things are concepts that unite everything. The flowing thing, in most cases fluid, or cars at the NASCAR event. But there is a solid part design, the duct or the running track that participates and require the same kind of thinking in the case of the man-made designs. But nature itself has evolved in the same direction, because what really matters is the long-time survival of the movement. And that is why the beginning part of chapter 10 is a very brief review of things I hope you're all taught in, I don't know whether they teach you a course, a special course on strength of materials, but it should be part of mechanics, or elements of elasticity. I have no idea what they teach, meaning my colleagues teach to those who are not like me. But when I was like you, I was taught these things very, very, very well by the best professors in the world. I mentioned one of them, didn't I? I mentioned one last semester, Dan Hartog at MIT. I hope I tell you more about that man. What a man. He belonged to a generation of highly talented folks who ran away from the Nazis. Yeah. And came to America. This was a few years after Hitler was elected. And then made American science much better than it was before. He was from Holland, and he was a postdoc of Prandtl. You've heard of Prandtl? Okay. Prandtl. There's a D here. And at the same time, a postdoc of Prandtl was Timoshenko. You've heard of Timoshenko? This is the godfather of strength of materials. So these two, Timoshenko had run away from Bolshevism. Dan Hartog, via Germany, ran away from the Nazis. And they end up in the US, and Timoshenko became a professor at Michigan and then Stanford, and then Hartog at MIT. And without them, there would be no mechanical engineering in the US the way that we have it today. All right, let's see what I'm doing. So, yes, the basic idea is this. A solid bar, you think of a piece of metal that is pulled axially by a force. This is called a bar in tension. If questioned, inspires people in the aftermath of a great thinker called Saint Venant. Inspires people to think of what exists inside the bar. And if you imagine a bar just like the hot dog cut here, then you have only this chunk pulled by F and not moving. And that makes the thinker answer his own question this way. This chunk is not moving because on this other side, which you cannot see, there are other forces called stresses. They'll be called S in chapter 10 of the book, that balance the F. So if the cross-sectional area of the bar is A, then F equals SA. Or for that matter, the definition of tensile stress is F over A. Stress. Tensile stress, because tensile means, it comes from the word to extend, which means to pull this way. If F points in the opposite direction, then the so-called stress, which has the same drawing, is called compressive stress. So you can juggle this terminology your way, but it should all make sense. And you should all thank this contemporary of Fourier and the father of elasticity. This is early years of the 1800s. The father of elasticity was Navier. Okay? All these people, and then Poisson, you've heard of him, and Fourier. They were all setting the world of science in motion during the 2 decades of Napoleon at the French Academy. And of course, one can use this idea in a experiment. Remember the Galileo Galilei slapping the 2 boards and photographing the water droplets? He invented the so-called experimental method. You can have experiments with this kind of thing and measure the force with plotting it versus displacement. Displacement would be, let's call it delta. In other words, as you pull this way, the bar exhibits an elongation, meaning that would be delta over 2, and then elongation here, and that's delta over 2. And from 0 force, which means 0 elongation, there's a curve that one obtains experimentally. And if the curve is actually a straight line, then the behavior is known as elastic. And the slope is related to that little lowercase k that I had on the blackboard earlier in this location. This is the elastic constant of the bar as a spring. But the same experiment shows that soon enough this curve flattens, and before it becomes really flat, which is called the plastic behavior, it's likely that the bar would snap into 2 pieces. This territory, meaning this level of extending, meaning at the edge of elastic behavior, is called maximum allowable stress, SMA, which multiplied by F, by the cross-sectional area of the test is the maximum allowable force. This concept of maximum allowable stress will be required of you to know when you solve this problem that I assigned for next Wednesday. Any questions? You just eliminated my joke because you want to talk. Go ahead. Go ahead. No. Go ahead.
Oh, I was just gonna ask. Right there in the equation you wrote, is that like S subscript MA?
Yeah.
Okay.
S from stress. The French would use the word tension for stress, which is basically what the doctor tells you that you go and say, I'm stressed, and then the doctor will say, yeah, you're under tension, you know. But tension means is from being pulled apart, you know, not compressed. Words jumped across the Atlantic, so they bounced in funny ways. All right, so this definition, in fact, what you see here is all you need for the problem on next Wednesday. When we reconvene, which is on Monday. By the way, Monday is when I need from you, those of you who are enterprising and sprightly. Not Sprite. I need a preview of your idea for the term paper, if you can. Otherwise, I'll get it from you on Wednesday next week. When we reconvene, we'll have this sort of analysis as background for another simple configuration, not the bar in tension, but the bar in bending. This is a cantilever beam that is like an elastic blade which serves as a spring. Yes?
I was going to ask, what exactly do you want in that outline or preview of our term paper?
It's like a personal letter from you to me, about half a page. Look, Adrian, I'm thinking about this. Quote, this coming from you might require 2 paragraphs. But if you are not very clear in your own mind, it may require 3 paragraphs. Or if you're not sure, you can write a paragraph about idea number 1, and then a second paragraph about idea number 2, and then ask me, which do you think would be better? But when I respond, I have my own objectives for what comes from your mind, which is to do the most with your idea. And the most that you can do with an idea is, first of all, to make sure it's original, to make sure that it is important, that it might have practical applications when your idea encounters somebody who is well tooled to do something. And then if you pursue this opportunity to exhibiting your idea, and I'm the one to advise you on that, or advise each of you on that, the best place to launch it is to present it at this Constructal conference next November in Miami. If it goes well enough, then you'll be asked to submit it to a peer-reviewed journal and become a published author of original research as a single author. It's a big deal to do what I just told you, because most of you will be doing research, pursuing graduate degrees, will be at once empowered by working with or for the professor who is your advisor as a MS and PhD student. But you'll also be cursed to co-author everything with that person and be deprived of the right to claiming that it is your idea. The best way, and you don't care about that people get upset, is to publish alone, if you can, if it is your idea. But on the way to that stage of vigor, the first steps could be as modest as what I just requested of you for Monday. See that? It's a very good question that you bring up, and I'm in your corner, okay? I'm the old man with a water bucket. And after this, I push you back on in the boxing ring. Okay.
Should what we write have to tie with access and like flow in general?
You don't speak loud enough.
Sorry. Should like our paper be related to access and flow?
Yeah, but you're not writing a paper right now. You're sending me, giving me
the idea.
an idea. Maybe you can even write a whole page. Make sure you type it so that I don't have to decipher your hieroglyphics. But make sure you're understood. Make sure that I understand what you're proposing. And it could be more than one thing, and does not have to be elaborate. Imagine that you're writing to your parent or parents. See that?
Do you have like examples of like people's past topics?
These things I come up with, which are not in the books that I recommended, are things that came up. I don't know who said them during my most recent years of performing in front of students. Ideas are like the sounds of birds, that inspire the most famous composers. Yes, and yes, famous are the composers. Nobody knows the bird, okay? But ideas are flying through air, because air has pressure waves, that's the theory of sound. And your business as intelligent young people is to hear that music and be inspired. People say interesting things all the time, but most of people who launch those, verbal gems are unaware of the value of what is being said. So be on the lookout. Question everything you hear. And if it's stupid, you are entitled to laugh. That's also valuable.